Hey, it's me, JB Ellis at Sideline Sports. Got John Shear, usually Dave DeRocher, but he's got a big thing coming up next week. I'll be there. You should be there too. If you're not there, go to the First and Goal project and find out more about it. The most special golf event ever. You need to be there. You really do. But we got Roth coming in later. Of course, we got John Shear. I even hear Denzel Snipes going to be around here. But before we start, John, listen, I was on my way home today, and it was Easter, so Easter weekend. I was in New York with my family, and walking through the airport. Have we become the zombie apocalypse happened? All you see is people like this on their phone, not paying attention, getting in my way. I want to walk people. I just want to run people over, John. I am tired of people standing in my way. If you're not going to be productive and you're just going to stand in the middle of the lane, move to the side. Step to the side. Go to the wall. You want to look at your phone? Stand on the wall. Get out of JB Ellis's way.
Look, I feel the same way about drivers that go like 5 or 10 miles an hour under the speed limit. And then whenever you get to the passing lane, guess what they do? They go like 10 miles over the speed limit until the passing lane disappears. And then they go back to 5 miles under the speed limit.
Right?
Drives me insane.
Get to the right. Get out of my lane. Pay attention. The zombie apocalypse is real. That's all I got to say. If you're just watching for the first time this time, that's Denzel Snipes, Jay Nelson, whatever the heck you want to call him. He's our fabulous producer. We like the guy. If you don't, I don't know what's wrong with you. You obviously missed it. You're not on the boat. He does a great show, Top Rope Talk. If you're a wrestling guy, obviously we know I'm not the wrestling guy because, I think they're athletes, but I say it's scripted, so it don't really count. But Jay does a great show with the pundit, Jacob Christner, every Monday at 7 p.m. Top Rope Talk. Don't miss it. He's also the producer of Confidential Season 3, premiere tomorrow night, 7 p.m. This is Sideline Sports. Go to SidelineSportsNet.com. Now that I've wasted enough time with housekeeping and the zombie apocalypse, can we talk some sports, John?
Yeah, sure. Let's go. Let's do it. We have a lot to talk about.
So did you see last night's Giants game on Sunday Night Football? Wait, wrong sport. Sorry. We got the Final Four.
We had two Giants. We had two Giants go at it.
We got the Final Four.
In the Final Four, two potential Giants going to go at it, possibly in a national championship game, depending upon how it turns out.
We're going to start with the men's Final Four. I mean, last night we had Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese.
Yeah,
and Kim Mulkey stalking the sidelines. We're going to start with the men. I mean, doesn't anyone like the women's basketball game?
No. It really was good, and I think that definitely top 3 event of next weekend is going to be UConn and Iowa. When you have two ladies shooting the absolute lights out of the gym, this is going to be a heavyweight fight. I don't know what everyone's plans are. I think it's on Friday, but they may want to reserve 2 hours to watch that showdown. That game may actually be better than the actual national championship game, but I digress.
Remember at the beginning of the college football season this year, I think it was about week 2 when after week 1, Colorado made their statement, and when Colorado got their first home game, everybody was on the sideline of Colorado, and it was like watching the national championship. That's how like impactful it was on social media, on TV, like everywhere you went. If you went to work, like everybody was talking about the Colorado game. Nobody was talking about any of the prime matchups. They were talking about Colorado because how polarizing it was. And that's what everybody's going to be talking about is UConn versus Iowa. I think it's bigger than Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. I think this is bigger. If you're a pure basketball fan, I mean, that game was the most watched women's basketball game in the history of the United States. No game ever in the history of the United States has been watched.
12.3 million, if I'm correct. Yep, the email I got from ESPN.
And I think Friday's going to be even bigger between Paige and Caitlin Clark.
It will.
Oh,
definitely.
Listen, I got it on my calendar. I am not the hugest women's basketball fan, but you know what? If Ice Cube's going to offer Caitlin $5 million to come to the Big Three, and there's talk of her playing NBA basketball, I'm gonna watch because listen, the girl can play it, and I like the drama with her and the Angel Reese thing that they created a subplot. I give them credit for that.
You said it right. Created.
And
But that's what
listen,
women's
Angel,
sports needs.
of course, all sports
That's
needs
what
that
it
because
no,
if
but
there's
that's what it's been missing. That's what I've
yeah,
been saying.
yeah,
They need personalities, they need drama. They
of
need to not
course,
apologize whenever they fight or whenever they argue. They
it's
need
sports.
personalities.
Listen, we all have emotion when we play sports. There's nothing wrong with that. Angel Reese is a hell of a ball player. Caitlin Clark is a hell of a ball player.
Yeah.
Nothing but respect for them. So, but this time Caitlin had the better game. She propelled her team to victory. Kim Mulkey will do a little sulky on the sideline and go home. That article was a dud. I don't understand what that was
That was
unless they
dumb.
changed it. Unless they changed it because of a possible lawsuit. That was a waste of time. If you didn't read it, I didn't read it. It was stupid. You know, there's but the basketball on the court has been phenomenal. I think to me, in all honesty, the women's tournament this year has been more fun than the men's tournament.
Million times more.
It's been like that for the last, couple of seasons. And Caitlin Clark, I mean, what can I say? 9 3-pointers made, 41 points, 12 assists is gonna win you a lot of games. Probably at any level.
I mean, it took her 23s, 9 for 20 from 3, 13 for 29 shooting. Took her 29 shots to get there.
Yeah.
But, 41 points, 12 dimes, and 7 boards. That's pretty good.
Yeah. And Angel Reese didn't have a bad game neither. 17
No,
points,
not at
20
all.
rebounds.
I mean, it took her 21 shots to get to 17 points. I mean, that's a lot of shots to get to 17 points.
Hey, but 20 boards is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. It's just nobody was able to shoot on LSU. Like, nobody really shot the ball well except Johnson. Everybody else shot the ball badly. And Reese even said at halftime, like, she told him to stop taking dumb shots.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were doing in the first half. It was just taking dumb shots.
So we know Iowa and UConn. What's the other matchup in the women's Final Four?
Iowa, UConn, South Carolina, and oh boy, I'm drawing a blank. South Carolina and
this is bad. That just shows
State.
you.
They got
NC State, North Carolina State,
yes.
Yeah.
In both finals, like both at the end of their brackets, NC State made it. And UConn. UConn and NC State made it in both.
This is the first time ever that there's two teams in both the women's and men's Final Four from the same university. UConn has won it a couple of times being in both the same year, but there's never been a team from one college in both the men's and women's Final Four together from two teams. You've obviously had one when UConn did it. So this is pretty impressive and historic. Yeah. NC State, their men's basketball team, which we'll get to in a moment, is on fire. The women's team going to have a hell of a battle against South Carolina because they're probably the best team in the country, and we're probably going to see Caitlin Clark against South Carolina. I don't know enough other than knowing that South Carolina is the best team with the best coach going right now in women's basketball.
I have a bone to pick with JB, and I have a bone to pick with Raphael whenever Raphael comes on. So make sure you guys stay tuned for when Raph comes on, because I'm going to nuke both of them because what they've been saying lately about this men's tournament. I have a bone to pick with both of them, so I can't wait for that.
I can't wait to get to that because all I've been saying is how dominant UConn is.
I would love to see, and I'll probably ask Raph this when he comes. I would love to see that bet in Vegas because in the Final Four, you have 3 heavyweights and then North Carolina State. I want to know what the payout will be for whoever bet on North Carolina State and should North Carolina State win a national championship.
It all depends when you bet them, Jay. If you bet them back towards the end of the regular season before they started this huge winning streak, it'd be phenomenal. Raph, that was the question Jay just asked, and you were popping in. You hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So right before the end of the season, good evening. So right before the end of the season, up until now, what have the odds done on North Carolina State winning it all? I mean, obviously they had a drop.
They were close to the beginning of the season?
I would say right before the ACC tournament.
They were like around 151, close. I think some books had 200.
Not bad.
Okay. Yeah. And then what are they at now?
Oh, I would say right now, they're 18-1.
Wow. That's a huge difference. It's crazy. We're
All
talking about
right, so I have
the
a
women's
bone.
tournament before. Hang on one
I have-
second. Eddie, John, give 1 second. Let's see if Roth
All
has
right,
any thoughts on the
fine.
women's tournament before we get to the men's tournament.
Before I light you on
Um,
fire.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on the women's tournament. I mean, the women's tournament in gambling alone had more action than 6 out of the 8 NBA games played yesterday. It had more action than every baseball game that played yesterday. We saw the viewingship on there. It had more views than the NBA Finals last year's NBA Final game. So, I mean, I thought it was fantastic basketball. What I watched, not just the first game of LSU and Iowa. I thought the UConn USC game was fantastic. I mean, the ticket sales are almost double. I mean, I think average ticket price is $540 for men's, 9 something for the ladies for the Final Four.
My
Go ahead.
only bone to pick with the NCAA, how do you not get the court right? And if you're the
Yeah.
coach, how do you play that game having 2 different 3-point lines? Because that could affect the game. This is not, week 2 of the season where you have 20 games to go. This is when you go to the Final Four. I don't know if I'm putting my team on the court until it's fixed.
I could see that, but we're talking about men versus women. I bet you they probably didn't have an option. Well, either you play now, or we don't know when you're going to be able to play this game because the venue was already being rented out. The 2 days of it. This is exactly a couple years ago when they showed what the men's Final Four gym looked like and the women's Final Four gym like. This would have never happened in an NIT game, the NCAA tournament. This is just how we here in the States view women, not just in sports, but in everything that when it comes to politics, when it comes to social media and all that, it has everything to do with that. And I'm a big believer that this would have never happened in a college basketball game.
Yeah, it's insane. So before we get to John, who's going to rip Raphael and myself,
Sure.
we got the Final Four, the women's and the men's coming up. Baseball just started. The NFL draft in less than a month. If you're not on mybookie.ag, the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, and you're not using code Sideline right now, this second, Tyler, I see you out there, and we'll talk about DJ Birds, but if you're not on mybookie.ag, what are you doing? You want that 50% deposit bonus. You want to be in those numbers when Roth talks, women's basketball was bet more than all the baseball games. That should be you. And you have the ticket to 50% more money. What are you waiting for? I don't want to talk about it anymore. John, what do you got to say, John? I want to hear.
All right, so
I've
first
been
of
waiting
all,
all day for this.
yeah. So you were talking all about how the Big East is the best conference, but yet, I mean, the only one that survived was a 1 seed UConn. And I tried telling you about ACC, but you didn't listen to me. An 11 seed got to the Final Four, which is better than a 1 seed getting there because a 1 seed should get there. 11 seed should not be there, which means the ACC is better than the Big East. And I have a bigger bone to pick. That guy over there said that the Mountain West, the Mountain Best, the Mountain Best. Oh, we heard it for weeks. JB, he told you about how your conference isn't very good and how the Mountain Best is just going to wipe the floor with everybody. And I looked at the Final Four, and I didn't see anybody from there, Raphael. What? Why? I thought they were the Mountain Best. And I thought the Big East was the best. I don't know where St. John's is at, but I do see NC State. Huh. Yeah, guys, this is like Scooby-Doo. I'm trying to solve the puzzle, but guys, help me out here.
Yeah, Mountain West laid a big egg, but at the same time they got misseeded. I thought they would have been better seeded. They just had bad seeding. But the New Mexico shouldn't have been in there. I thought they should only have 5 teams, and not 6. I thought New Mexico, Indiana State should have been in there before New Mexico and Virginia. So I totally agree with either one of those two being out. But yeah, when we laid an egg last time, we had 4 teams in the tournament. We all 4 of them didn't even make the weekend. So at least we had 2 of them that made the weekend.
Yeah, and you know what? And I think that this has been one tournament of unpredictability. Like you look at the Final Four, the men's Final Four, right? And like JB said, we'll get to some of these teams, in a minute. If anyone any other year would have told you that an ACC team is going to be in the Final Four, the automatic answer would have been Duke or North Carolina.
Yep.
Nobody had North Carolina State.
Yep.
If in years past somebody would have told you that an SEC team is going to be in the Final Four, automatic answer would have been Kentucky.
Yeah.
No, or Tennessee. No one thought it'd be Alabama. Alabama has a chance to win a national championship in basketball. Is Nick Saban coaching that squad? What's going on here?
I'm going to give JB his due on this one. UConn is the best team playing right now in the tournament, but I don't think if it's 1-1, UConn versus Purdue, they're going to have a big problem with Edey. I mean, because let's face it, Purdue shoots better free throw shooting than UConn. UConn will probably be fouling him, and if it becomes a free throw shooting, which we've seen, me and Denzel had this talk the other day. Free throw shooting has been a big issue in this tournament. So, I think UConn has no issue on the Final Four game, but they could have a big, and no pun intended, a big problem if Purdue's in there with them. If you're UConn, you do not want to see Purdue on Monday.
And there's something about not being challenged through the whole tournament. And then you're going to get to the Final Four, and you're going to start, like, if you have to play Purdue in the finals, if you're UConn and say you weren't challenged in the Final Four and you get there, you've had no challenges yet. What happens whenever you face that first bump of adversity? What do you do as UConn? Because sometimes you need to be punched in the mouth as a team in order to kind of feel like, all right, now we know what adversity feels like. UConn hasn't had that yet. And if they don't feel any until a championship game, maybe they don't respond.
Do you know who UConn coaches, John? Guy by the name of Danny Hurley. Guy whose whole life he's had nothing but adversity. His brother was the better basketball player. His brother Bobby. He went to Seton Hall while his brother went to Duke. While he was at Seton Hall, he'd come to the Garden to play St. John's.
Here we go.
And 20,000 people would be chanting Bobby every time he touched the ball. So this guy is as thick-skinned as they come. His team will be ready. They are the best team in college basketball.
When that happened, were the players on his team like in diapers back then? Like, is that how long ago that was? Because, I mean, these are 19, 20-year-old kids. They're not going to know what adversity is. They haven't been punched in the mouth at all. Who cares if the coach has? He's not the one on the court. He's not the one on the court.
It all starts with coaching, John.
Yeah, but
it does, but not in the Final Four. The limelight is too bright for the kids for coaching. We've seen some coaches that should have won national championships. UConn will win this one. This one's 12 right now. It'll probably go to 12.5, 13. This is the lowest total Alabama has played in 14 games. The total has been dropped to 160.5. If you're UConn, you cannot have Alabama hit the 80 mark, because if they hit the 80 mark, that means they're 3 balls hitting, and UConn's defense is spread too thin on this one. I have UConn winning this one, but there's a lot of obstacles where they can blow this one if Alabama runs the court out, like how they beat College of Charleston, how they beat Arkansas, how they beat Mississippi on the road. They put up 108 points on Mississippi on the road. Mississippi's an NCAA tournament game. So if you're UConn and these UConn bettors, if you've been betting UConn, why would you fade them on this one? But this is the Final Four. We've seen so much. San Diego State should have been in the Final Four last year, and they won the game. They were in the national championship. It had nothing to do with coaches. It had everything to do with how the game was played. The coaching is out the window now. Coaching's out the window right now.
Then you go into who has experience there. Who's been there before? UConn just won it all last year.
Yeah,
so
but I'm just saying.
The team knows what to expect. All the intangibles are with UConn. That doesn't mean they can't be beat, because it's sports. We see this all the time. Any team can be beat on any given day. But, if you're telling me right now who is the best team that's there, UConn, Purdue, NC State, Alabama. Those are my 4 in that order.
I think who's got the most to prove is Purdue, UConn, because Purdue lost to a 16 seed
last year. Yep.
Oh yeah,
so they're coming up. If I had to buy stock in either one of these two Final Four teams, I'm buying South Carolina women's stock first, because they were disrespected last year. The best team undefeated last year, they lose, and LSU wins it last year, and they come back with all new 5 transfer portals. They're undefeated again. I see them winning it all. I'll take UConn second over South Carolina ladies.
John, where are your top 4 on this one?
Did we ask Raphael if you can bet in Florida for my bookie?
With my bookie, yes.
You can?
Yes, you can, Tyler.
I was going to
Tyler,
answer
mybookie.ag. Use code Sideline. You get a 50% deposit bonus.
Go ahead and do it, Tyler, right now. Sign up.
Don't wait. Turn the show off for 5 minutes.
Too. It's pretty dope.
And Tyler, if you have any problems signing up and stuff like that, follow me on social media, and I can always call them and say, hey, blah, 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 is trying to sign up. Can you give him a call or send him an email and stuff like that?
So, John, where are your top 4 in the men's bracket? I want to hear how you rank 1 through 4.
My top 4 in the men's bracket? I mean, obviously, UConn will have to be number 1. I mean, it'd be dumb to put anybody besides UConn and then Purdue because they're 2 number 1 seeds. I can't knock Alabama. Like, what Alabama was able to do to get here, I was looking at everybody's path to get here. UConn hasn't been challenged. Purdue really hasn't been challenged. Alabama's been somewhat challenged, but I feel like NC State's the scariest team out of the 4 because they've had nothing but a hard road to get here. They had a hard road in the ACC championship or the ACC tournament to win that. They had a hard road basically the entire way through this tournament. So they've done nothing but had to fight with their backs against the wall. Whereas UConn's kind of coasted. Purdue's kind of coasted. Alabama's had some challenges. So, like, if I'm Purdue, I don't want to play NC State because they've done nothing but had to fight through everything for the past month plus. That's not a team that's like when the Lions were going through the playoffs and they've just gone through adversity after adversity. It's like, man, that's a team you don't want to play going into playoffs because they've gone through all the stuff and everybody's doubted them. So you don't want to go up against a team like that. I think NC State, if you had to put them, they're probably last just because they're 11 seed. But again, what they've gone through, like, I don't think they're going to be an easy out for Purdue. Like, I think that's going to be. I think both these games are going to be dogfights. Honestly, like, I don't think anybody has an easy matchup here. That's just me.
But John, you're just going by rankings. You don't have to go by rankings.
I know.
You can go by what you feel.
That.
I mean.
I understand that. That's why I said UConn has to be number 1. But I don't think you can overlook Alabama at all. I mean, what they've done, 3-point shooting, what they were able to do to get here, man, I think they're going to give UConn everything they can handle. That game's going to come down to right down to the wire. Both games will come down to the wire. These are great matchups.
It should be interesting. I'm excited for it. I still think the women's tournament's been better, which,
I mean, imagine if you're South Carolina, and no matter if you win your matchup, doesn't matter what you do, you got to face Paige or Caitlin Clark. Like that. I mean, either way, like, you're facing a bona fide superstar.
Look at North Carolina State in that tournament. You got Paige, Caitlin Clark, the whole South Carolina team. No one has a taller order than women's North Carolina State. Like, let's get that understood right now. No one's got a taller order than them.
So
I said this last night. Sorry to cut you off, JB. Yeah. What Iowa has done, it should be talked a little bit more. Yes, they have the best player in college basketball, and I said this multiple times yesterday through a whole bunch of media stuff. They have one college transfer on their team. And that college transfer doesn't even start.
That's crazy.
How many college transfers does South Carolina have? A whole new starting 5. UConn college transfers. NC State college transfers. What they have done, I mean, Caitlin Clark didn't even get a phone call from UConn, her high school. She was waiting. That was a school she wanted to go to. I mean, and then they call her freshman year and say, hey, you know what? You want to transfer here? And so she's like, no. So I think that, and I think when history goes off and when Caitlin Clark is in the WNBA and stuff like that, and I think we're going to look at
big three.
Big three.
Don't
knock it.
She's not going.
$5 million.
She's not going to big 3.
Ice Cube.
It doesn't
She'll
matter.
make more in the Big
No.
Three than she'll ever make in the WNBA
No.
if she takes that
Not
deal.
no, because I
She'll
can
never make
guarantee
$5 million.
Pat McAfee's company that's in Indianapolis will probably match that or give her close. State Farm has already said they're probably going to give her another deal. Trust me, she's not going to. But that would hurt her brand more than it would help her. It would help her wallet, but she'll miss out on too much. Indianapolis has a great.
I mean, what is the WNBA going to do for her? She's doing for the WNBA.
Well, yeah,
it's not the other way around.
I agree, but yeah, there's no. First of all, the Big Three is barely hanging on threads. They're just using her to try to get. So no,
yeah.
I would highly.
But so is the WNBA. I mean,
no, not really. I mean, WNBA's ratings were high last year. Ratings were up, back-to-back winners for Vegas.
Yeah.
We have a brand new. You figure Reese is coming out. I mean, Paige will be out next year, so they've had some really, really good talent coming in.
But the ratings would be there because of her, not because of the WNBA helping her. She's helping the WNBA. It's not the other way around. And she's getting paid peanuts for it whenever she goes there. The salary will be under $1 million a year, which is just insane. Like, there's no way she should be getting $26,000 a year or whatever it's going to be. Like, there's no way she should be getting that when she goes to W. That's why they should find a way to make sure she gets her money, because if she's getting $5 million from Big Three and she's getting less than $1 million per year from WNBA, that ain't right. I mean,
what about the other women that are already in the league, John? What about the other? You're going to compare her to Steph Curry. What about the other women in the league?
They don't compare to her. None of them.
We don't know that. We don't know how she's going to be as a pro.
But none of them compare to her.
You saying that there's nobody in the WNBA?
We've never seen a women's basketball player this transcendent. Never.
Right now, I agree with you. But we don't know how her game is going to transcend coming into the WNBA. We have
I'm just saying, like, asses in seats. We've never seen a women's player that demands asses in seats like her ever, since we've ever watched women's basketball. Nobody's ever demanded asses in seats.
Year one, they won't be sitting here in year two.
I'm just saying, like, it's like Hulk Hogan. He put asses in seats, and that's your job, is to put asses in seats. And nobody in WNBA history or college basketball, women's college basketball, has ever been able to do what she did last night. That's because of her. Not Angel Reese, not nobody else. It's because of her. Like, she is must-see TV, and we've never seen that from a women's basketball player. Not on that level. Never.
Will it hold? That's all I'm saying. Will it hold?
Oh, of course it will. As long as she stays healthy, of course.
We'll see. We don't know how she's going to be as a pro. We've seen how many college people that we've seen that going to be a fantastic pro. And where are they at now?
John, why are people going to watch her? Because everybody in the WNBA has done their job, and they've gotten women interested in the women's basketball. Caitlin Clark is nothing without the WNBA.
That's there. There's no way that's right. I mean, Jake is right, but you're wrong.
If there's no WNBA,
she'll go to the Big Three.
No,
John,
she
wouldn't have that option. Ice Cube wouldn't be offering her a Big Three thing if there was no WNBA.
The reason he's doing it is because like Raphael said, they're barely hanging on.
John, it all comes down to the WNBA has gotten interest in women's basketball, which has gotten interest in college women's basketball. Then you have that little altercation last year, that big game between LSU and Iowa. That brings everything to where people actually care. It's not just her, you know.
And you got to think about the Brittany Griner thing that happened in Russia. I don't want to put this out of context, but that probably helped women basketball here in the States.
Yeah,
now people are afraid. People are afraid to go over. Women are afraid to go overseas. I mean, Europe, it's okay. I mean, a lot of people go there for soccer, but that's totally different than basketball. But I think that probably helped a lot of stars staying here and all that. So that probably is a beneficial of that. Granted, it was a horrible beneficial for one person, but I think that helped a lot because now that money dried up. There's no more money in women's basketball overseas as much as it was before.
It's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. So, John, as usual, you've proved you're completely wrong on this topic.
How am I
Raphael
wrong?
and myself.
Yeah, you're the
Raphael and
same guy that
myself.
said the
John
Big
has
East was the
good.
best
John has
conference.
very good topics, very good points and stuff like that. I just now look. I mean, yesterday's game is over with. The women were in the seeds, great ratings. Now, what's going to happen after she puts the pro
What
jersey?
happens
Indiana
Friday?
Fever is not a good team. They're not a good
No.
team. So how is she gonna handle losses as a shooter? I can guarantee you next year's All-Star break will have a 2-on-2 Steph Curry versus Sabrina and someone versus Caitlin Clark. I can guarantee you there'll be a 3-point contest and stuff like that. If they
You
don't,
have to.
if they don't, the NBA is stupid.
Yep.
All right. Well, real quick before we can move on to baseball, go around. Give me your men's and women's champions. Start with Jay.
Men's champion, I'm leaning towards Purdue. I actually had them as frauds at the beginning of the tournament, but they've changed my mind. I would love for North Carolina State to win it. A team that lost their last 4 regular season games. They ended 17-14, were an 11th seed, an absolute dog fought their way to get to where they're at. I would love to see them win it, but if they end up winning and going to the national championship game, I think that's where it stops. I've got Purdue on a redemption tour. Ide is going to go out with a national championship ring. So national champ, and even still, I would say national championship. I think it's going to be UConn Purdue.
All right. And women, UConn.
Women's, oh man, I'm gonna take a shot and I'm gonna go Iowa. Even though South Carolina's on the other side.
You're on the Big Ten. The Big Ten trade. Haven't you learned anything about basketball with the Big Ten? They're nothing but disappointment. John, you're next. Who you got?
So let me ask you that. Hold on. Let me ask you this. I mean, because Jay's statement just absolutely asinine. So he says they're frauds to begin the tournament, but beating Grambling, and beating Utah State changes his mind. Beating Gonzaga, who always chokes, who's not as good as they once were, changes his mind. Then they finally beat Tennessee. Like, that's what changed your mind, was beating
Tennessee game.
Grambling and Utah State. That changed your mind?
Well, 2 things. Number one, the Tennessee game did change my mind a little bit, and then as they won some more, then it's like, okay, they look legit. And number 2, you mentioned the Gramblins, and who was the other team you said?
Utah State.
Well, let me ask you a
Goodness
question,
gracious.
John. So let me ask you a question. At this time last year, who did they lose to, and in what round?
They lost to some bad team.
St. Peter's.
That don't mean like that changed your mind that they're not frauds because they beat 2 terrible teams.
John, he has gotten on the fraudulent trade, John. The Big Ten in basketball just doesn't exist unless it was Michigan State, and that was years ago. John, you're next. Who you got?
He's just mad because Astros can't win a game. I got
Won last night. There was
I got
no-hitter
NC State.
We'll get to that.
NC State, ACC chopping down the nets. And then I got Caitlin Clark in Iowa chopping down the nets. And that's
wow, 0 for 2. 0 for 2 again. Raphael, what do you got?
Yes.
Women's, I have Iowa and South Carolina championship. I want to see UConn, but UConn was probably maybe a minute. If the game was a minute longer, they might have had to play with 4 players on the court because they had no one on the bench. They had 4 girls with 4 fouls left. They only run 5-6 deep because there's so many injuries. So I was hoping for overtime because I wanted to see if I would see 5 versus 4 in that game. Just not enough bodies for Paige. I have Iowa and South Carolina, and I just think South Carolina is just on a mission. They knew they slipped one away. I thought LSU would have lost last year if they had to play South Carolina. I think South Carolina wins on that one. And
the men's?
I'm not going to say Purdue was frauds coming into this one, but I thought they had a target on their back. Like losing to a 16 seed. Everyone was questioning Edey coming in. He's not even going to get drafted. He's too big. I was impressed on how they played against Utah State. Utah State has not 1 but 2 7-footers. So they were able to foul him and put him on the line, and he shot 86% from the free throw line against Utah State. I was impressed with that. And then I was really impressed on how Edey found the open shooters against Tennessee, which he's going to need to do with UConn. I think that the backcourt of Purdue will be a problem for UConn. So I have Purdue beating UConn. Very, very close
Listen,
game.
Edie is the real deal. No question about it. I think the guy can play basketball. If you don't think that, then you haven't watched basketball in the 90s and the 80s when they had big men. Nowadays, we're not used to that. But unfortunately, NC State, their run's coming to an end. Purdue is going to wipe the floor with them. UConn, Purdue, the game we all want. UConn, the best team in the country. Purdue, the team trying to get redemption. And when it's all said and done, UConn's the first back-to-back champion since I don't even remember when. It's been so long ago.
Florida Gators.
Florida Gators.
Joking
That's right,
Noah.
baby.
We don't count them. I don't like them. And I love Florida sports.
Billy
but for
Donovan's
football,
back-to-back Gators team
Not
is
about-
one of the best college
I agree.
basketball teams I've ever seen.
Not as
Don't
good
like
as UNLV and LMU's basketball team.
They
before
would
Hank
mop the
Gathers died.
floor with them. Just saying.
LMU would
Yes,
have whooped up.
UNLV was phenomenal.
Hank Gathers
and
and Bo
LMU,
People would have whooped
there's-
up on
They were
Joakim Noah.
No team in
phenomenal.
the history of college basketball would come close to my back-to-back Gators. So
Wow,
Oh,
John,
keep
we're gonna have to mute you, John.
Yes.
Hang on. This show just got a lot better, guys. John is muted. All right, and in women's, I think South Carolina is going to win. I think they're the best team out there. I'd love to see UConn win both because let's go Big East, but it's not going to happen. South Carolina is the team. I would love to see NC State win both because the story would be phenomenal. Not going to happen. They had a phenomenal end of the year. But now that the year is ending in one sport, a new sport just began over the weekend. It was March, and they're playing this game with a bat and a ball outdoors, snow, craziness. I mean, the team in Houston got swept by a team from New York. It was a beautiful thing. Everyone loves when that happens. I don't know about anybody else.
You're really talking about a sweep on April 2nd, really?
A four-game sweep, yes. When
Aroldis
it's someone
Garcia
you just
looks like Barry
Pittsburgh
Bonds.
Pirates are
Notice
also
he's
perfect.
talking like it's
Well,
September. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
listen. When a team cheats to win World Series and you sweep them at opening the
your team-
season, Florida.
No, John. Let John
Yeah.
cook. Go ahead, bro.
We
Go
haven't
ahead.
we haven't won
you know-
a World Series since 2009. So no, we have not cheated to win a World Series.
They did. You got
Not to win a
caught
World
cheating.
Series.
Doesn't
Not to win a
matter, you
World
got
Series.
caught cheating.
There were no buzzers. There were no buzzers. Damn it!
You had a wristwatch.
Back in the
our
day,
guys,
they would have poked
our
out.
guys were not
who's in
afraid
the
to
eye, they
take
would
their
poke
shirts
your
off.
eye.
Our
Eye for
guys were
eye.
not afraid to take their shirts off. Our guys
You
are
mean-
proud of their body.
You mean like Jose Altuve really did have a tattoo on his shoulder? And then what about this narrative of, he ran right to the locker room to take his shirt off? He stayed on the field and celebrated with his teammates. It's like, stop making stuff up.
Listen, they're cheaters. Glad 0-4 to start. It was a beautiful thing. We left
1-4. There was a no-hitter thrown last
Right.
night.
We leave Houston. They all of a sudden learn how to play baseball. They have a no-hitter and they win a game. A lot of firsts for that game. Good for that guy. I think, how old is he? 30?
30.
Pitcher or
Yeah.
30-year-old. Hasn't really been a starter very much. He's a reliever by trade, but with all the injuries, they had him start through a no-hitter for his first start of the year.
Would they play
And
like
the
the
Astros'
Tigers
first
or
win.
something?
He had the best
Right.
5 day spread. Made his first official opening day team. Had his first baby daughter, and then throws
Yep.
a perfect game. So he's had the best 5 days ever.
He actually made
Yeah.
the team on the last day of spring training. It was crazy. And before last night, he had never gone past 6 innings. So, yeah, a lot of firsts for him.
He was a second baseman at Trait. He wasn't even a
Yeah.
pitcher when he brought it. He was a
Jay,
second baseman.
Can you put Jay as the main guy? He kind of looks like he's got the Jose Altuve thing right under his shirt. You kind of look like you got the Jose Altuve patch right above your neck. That looks like a Jose Altuve patch. Yeah, you got that little Jose.
Sorry,
Altuve
Mission
thing
Control.
going.
I've been compromised.
Listen, cheaters are going to cheat, and the Astros have proven that they're the king of the cheaters.
And so have the Yankees. They just didn't win.
And the Red
Go ahead.
Sox. Let's not.
And the
forget
Red Sox.
If
Listen,
you're
it
not
all
cheating,
comes out
you're
to
not
winning.
I know what it is, John.
Eddie
I know what it is.
Guerrero.
I know what it is because the Astros and the Red Sox did it and won. The Yankees did it and lost.
Right, because we stopped when it mattered most. We actually played the game.
Hey, John, let me ask you a question. What did we used to say about the kid in school that failed an open book test?
Yes,
Listen,
you got one
the
World
Yanks are off
one
to a
World
great
Series.
start.
One World Series. That'll
The
be class.
Yankees are off to a great
They've
start.
been to 7 straight ALCSs.
Yeah, losers.
7 straight
Losers.
ALCSs. That
Losers.
can't be overlooked. That's better than what
Losers.
Mahomes has done with his,
Losers.
6 straight?
Losers.
Astros have been to
Losers.
7 in a
Four-
I
row.
love,
four-
I love
four
how we're
pennants
talking
in-
baseball and John throws a football reference in there. It's
Well,
fantastic.
I have to
He'll
take
throw
a
a
shot
football
at-
reference at anything.
I have to take a shot at Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I mean, what can I do? Rasheed Rice, he's a class act.
No matter,
Yeah.
yes, the Yankees are 5-0, but I will still take John's Baltimore Orioles over the Yankees.
Oh, I agree.
Let's face it, the Yankees. We still don't know when Cole's coming back. I think their pitching is going to be. I'm still blown away. I think I said this with you guys before. I'm still blown away that they didn't sign Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery when Cole went down. That's going to be their Achilles heel.
And they know Montgomery. He used to be
yeah.
a Yankee.
Yeah, I don't understand why they
Yeah.
didn't do that. I think that's going to – and Baltimore, we know what the Orioles – if they're in a hunt, they're going to sign bats. They're going to put arms in the bullpen during trade deadline. I think –
Oh, they don't have to. They have 5
I know, but
elite prospects waiting in AAA.
Trade deadline, they'll do something to improve their team. Well, I'll put it that
They'll
way.
call it 5 elite prospects once they're done manipulating service time in June. That's all they're doing is manipulating service time. They'll call them up in June, whenever they get an extra year of free agency added to their contracts. That's all they're doing.
But we'll stay in your division. Look for the Toronto Blue Jays to be if they're what they look like so far, they're going to be huge sellers. I think Guerrero will be gone. I think Guerrero and Alonso, if the Mets are fading, I think there'll be probably 2 big people being mentioned all trade deadline out there because Guerrero's contract is up. Alonso's, they say they want to sign him, but if they tank or they look bad, would not be shocked if we heard his name. I think the Blue Jays could be huge sellers. Right now, I have the Orioles, Rays, Yankees, Blue Jays, and Red Sox is my.
Is there any odds yet on like sellers or who's going to get traded yet? Not yet.
It's too early.
Okay.
Yeah, it's too early.
I didn't know. Hey, you guys do everything, so I figure I'd ask.
But there's I have a list. I have a list somewhere on my messy desk because I have WrestleMania and.
Can we see your desk? I want to see what Raphael's desk looks like.
You just want
I want to go
inside
behind the scenes.
to feed
It's
your
like
addiction.
It's like a paper anthill, I bet.
Right? Behind the scenes, behind the numbers.
This is all right here, stuff that I need to get done.
What's going on, Ralph?
Entertainment, WrestleMania prop bets. Let's see, movies, political. This is my political thing right here. Look how big this thing is. I got to still do.
Wow.
So what are the odds on what happens with The Rock and Cody and that whole scenario?
One of the best wrestling shows on the web yesterday, you would have known my prediction, right, Denzel? Well, I'm just letting you know.
What are the odds? As an odds maker, what are the odds? On how it transpires between the 4 of them.
I think we're going to see. I think Saturday we'll see The Rock and Roman win a tag team match, and then I think Sunday we see The Rock turn on Roman and Cody wins in that one. Yep. So that's what I'm thinking.
Does Cody win, but Roman retains? Is that possible?
No. I think Roman drops the belt. He's got a movie. I think I heard today he might have 2 movies in the works, and he's due for some a time off to do some other stuff. So he's probably going to be out for a while. I think that's why they're pumping Jey Uso and stuff like that. So I don't know if he's going to be the new table or stuff like that, but it'll keep them relevant with the Usos and the Solo and stuff. I think that's why we might see Brock Lesnar come back, because if Roman leaves for a long time, what's Paul Heyman going to do? Yeah. I don't see Heyman going with CM Punk. Because if you watch the interview of CM Punk a couple of days ago, he says he loves Heyman to death, but that was old. That's old CM Punk. He doesn't want to be with like that coming out as him. So I mean, it was gonna be very interesting. I don't see that many big surprises. People keep on asking me, is MJF gonna be there? You have The Rock for 2 days. You don't need any
That's
surprises.
true.
Right, but the WWE always does that. They always try and pull
They do.
one trick after another on WrestleMania.
I think it's only Brock Lesnar. I think that's the only one, and maybe some
Brock.
females come back. Maybe.
Well, what does Brock do? Does he screw anybody? Like, do you think he screws anybody over?
He might help The Rock screw Roman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he might.
He might. And last night, Ralph, another question is, because I mentioned the returns at Mania, we forget that the night after WrestleMania is always prime for returns too.
Monday. Yeah, Monday.
That's true.
I think we see Alexa Bliss come back on Monday.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of.
It's like you guys are talking Latin. What is this crap? This is a sports show. We're not talking soap operas. All my children. General Hospital is on.
Have you ever taken a bump
in the afternoon?
Have you ever taken a bump? You know how much that hurts if you take the bump the wrong way?
Monday Night Raw outdoes Monday Night Football week after week after week.
They don't take a week off.
Listen, that's because Roger Goodell doesn't explain what a catch is. As soon as you know what a catch is,
don't give Roger Goodell the idea to make football last 52 weeks a year. Please do not give him that idea. He already stole Christmas like the Grinch. Don't give him more ideas.
Listen, the Super Bowl is going to be Easter Sunday. Just wait.
Coming up. Ralph wants to know is Undertaker's Stone Cold coming up.
I don't see that.
I wouldn't say Undertaker.
But what about do you think his brother comes back? Do you think Goldust comes back?
No, his contract is still with AEW. Okay. I mean, he's more producing AEW in the back more than wrestling, and so I don't see that happening.
Okay.
Even though AEW just chopped off a lot of their payroll yesterday, and they're still going to be chopping off payroll.
I don't understand what they're doing over there. I really don't. They had such promise and they screwed it up.
Did you watch the CM Punk interview on the MMA Hour?
I read the quotes.
It was really, really good. I mean, it puts a lot of highlight of what actually is going behind the scenes over there, and it's pretty much how Khan runs the Jaguars. It's like I'm listening to CM Punk and I'm, oh my God, he's running AEW like he's running the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Like his dad runs the Jags.
Yeah, it's just pretty funny. But
let's
talk about something else before JB shoots himself.
Listen,
he looks so.
You guys are talking horrible stuff. Listen, we spoke women's basketball. I thought that was interesting. We went to wrestling. You lost me. I'm sorry. Maybe 30 years ago, I'd have had a little interest. 20 years ago, maybe.
Ralph, CM Punk is going to screw probably Drew McIntyre. The briefcase comes out, and CM Punk also comes out.
Damian Priest. Love to see it.
I don't know what any of this is. When's Hulk Hogan and the Junkyard Dog going at it?
Junkyard Dog is dead, so
he's
don't
dead,
speak
man. What's wrong with you?
Listen, he was a great wrestler. I liked him. He was on the cartoon too.
I met him at MGM at the WC, one of the Halloween Havocs, and he came in, and the way he walked into the sportsbook, I wanted to cry. You could tell how many bumps he took. His forehead looked like if I just went like that, it would probably cut his forehead. From just
I heard he was one of the nicest guys.
Yes.
A
lot of them are.
Yeah, one of the nicest guys one of the nicest wrestlers. So rest in peace, Junkyard.
Oh yeah,
nice for
awkward
sure.
Transition. Let's go.
Listen, you want to trade Trevor Lawrence? You're on. I want to hear about this.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Trevor Lawrence hasn't proved anything. I was hearing today how the Jags should trade for Brandon Ayuk, and I'm thinking, why? We've seen Trevor Lawrence had one good season. He's had weapons. I mean, look at those numbers. Barely 4,000 yards in 2023, 21 touchdowns, 14 picks. He had so many opportunities. And I thought, not this season, but the season before when he beat the Ravens at home, I was like, that's Trevor Lawrence's coming out party. That's him finally taking the next step. And he just hasn't. We've all been waiting. He's a number one overall pick. He doesn't get enough flack for not he's a generational talent, one of the most hyped number one picks we've ever seen. And we had one good season, but we haven't seen him be transcendent. And he's exactly what I thought he would be, where he was used to winning in college, and he wouldn't be able to handle not winning in the NFL. And That's exactly what he is. He just hasn't been able to take the next step, and that's what I thought he would be. I didn't think he would ever be amazing or great, like everybody said.
Listen,
And I think the Jags should. I think they should consider getting rid of him while he's still young. He has tread on the
he's in
tires.
Florida. I have an idea. Jay, put the picture back up. John, you have children, so you've seen, I'm sure, some Disney stuff. He looks
Yeah.
like that Disney dude. They're in Florida. Go to the Mouse, make a trade. Maybe they could have soft drinks for the stadium or something. Which Disney guy does he look like? I can't think of it, but he looks like one of the Disney people.
He looks like one of those 16-year-old stars like that used to watch on Disney Channel growing
Disney
up.
Channel, yeah.
No, like one of the cartoons. It's like not Hercules, but he looks like one of them.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
they can work out a deal.
John talking about trading an NFL quarterback on April 2nd is JB listening to us talk about wrestling. We were just talking about baseball. We should be talking about the AL Central, where I think
the draft is right around the corner. The draft is right around the corner.
It's baseball just cracked the bat. The Detroit Tigers could win the AL Central. They probably have one of the closest, but one of the best pitching staffs out there.
He's in year 4. He's in year 4, and he's had one good year so far. He's still young, and the Jags are, I don't even know what direction they're going in. Like, are they in win now mode? Are they still building? Like, they got to spend money on Josh Allen. They franchise tagged him. Like, eventually you got to find your quarterback, and CJ Stroud CJ Stroud right now is better than Trevor Lawrence. He had one season, not even 17 games, and he's already better than Trevor Lawrence. A million miles better than Trevor Lawrence. And he's only had one season, and he got to the divisional round in 1 year with guys we've never heard of before. And yet Trevor Lawrence are spending money for Christian Kirk. They trade for Calvin Ridley. They go and get Evan Ingram. Travis Etienne has an all-pro season. Josh Allen had second most sacks in the NFL. And Trevor Lawrence can't get it done. He chokes at the end of the year. Eventually they need to get rid of him. But because look, JB, that look on your face, look what the Bears did whenever they didn't get rid of Justin Fields. They waited a year too long to get rid of Justin Fields. They overplayed their hand, and they got nothing for Justin Fields. They overplayed their hand, and now they got nothing for him. They use a first-round pick. They traded up to get Justin Fields, and they got nothing for a first-round quarterback who's still really young. And that's what the Jags are going to do. They're going to overplay their hand. They're going to hold on to Trevor Lawrence 1 year too long. And then they're going to get a late round pick for him. And they're going to be stuck in this boat of not having a franchise QB in an AFC where you have to have a quarterback. Because if you don't have a guy that can match CJ Stroud or Lamar Jackson or Mahomes or Josh Allen or Burrow, if you don't have that, you have no chance of getting to the Super Bowl. And ultimately, that's what you want. That's what you got to do. That's your goal.
So
Can we go back to the wrestling talk?
You say all that about Trevor Lawrence, about he didn't know how to lose, coming out as a very hype. We haven't heard any hype since Andrew Luck. But when I say Caitlin Clark could struggle in the WNBA, you're saying put asses in seats. It's the same thing.
Trevor Lawrence doesn't put any asses in seats.
They were hoping he would
zero
come in
asses in seats
because he was promised as the next great quarterback coming out.
He's
he was
been a
known
dud.
But I'm just saying, you're right. But we could see the same thing in Indiana. You said no.
But Trevor Lawrence isn't hitting shots from the logo like Caitlin Clark is.
He was doing a lot of stuff in Clemson that people are like, oh, my God, he's better than Andrew Luck coming out of college.
See, I didn't believe that because I'm smarter than that. I didn't believe that.
I didn't know you then. I don't know what you believe back then.
Well,
Some even had Lawrence better than DW4 at Clemson.
I thought that was insane. I thought Deshaun Watson was a million times better in college than Trevor Lawrence. A million times better.
JB, who's winning the women's match between Bailey and
All I'm going to say is this, Dave, you're not allowed any more weeks off. That's it. I don't care. Golf thing, no golf thing. You're to be here, Dave. We're talking wrestling. We're talking Trevor Lawrence being traded. I don't like it, Dave. I don't.
We're not even talking about Cubs up 7-0 right now. We're not even talking about that.
I know that they're on fire after they started off 0-3.
They beat the Rangers in the last game of that series.
Yep.
And they should have taken 2 out of 3 because Christopher Morel was that close to a go-ahead grand slam in the ninth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, I didn't mind losing 2 out of 3 that were Rangers. They got their rings. They hung up the banner. I mean, that's of course you're on the road. That's you're supposed to lose that
That's
series.
baseball.
Yeah.
That's baseball. As long as you win 1 out of 3, you did your job.
Yeah.
1 out of 3.
Yeah.
1 out of
When
3.
you're playing a good team, yeah. All
No,
you have
you
to
gotta
do when
win
you're on the
every
road.
I expect to
No,
win every.
no. You
Not
expect
in
to,
baseball.
but that doesn't happen,
When
John.
was the last time someone went perfect in baseball, John?
I
How many
expect to win
teams
every
win
series.
120 games? How many teams win 120 games and win the World Series?
116 is the record, so nobody's ever won 120.
There's your answer. And how
But
many
I said
times?
I expect. I didn't say it's gonna happen. I said expect.
Let's give it up for
No,
Indiana
John.
State, who won today in the NIT. We get to see Milk Chamberlain and one more time for Indiana State. The best basketball nicknames ever. Milk Chamberlain, Kareem
Milk
Abdul-Jabbar. Oh, let's give it up for Indiana State.
Who they play it? Do we know yet?
They beat
St. John's.
St. John's. Yeah.
No.
No,
No,
they
no.
beat Utah. The 2 Utes.
Right. So what's going to happen is Seton Hall is playing Georgia. Big East going to win the NIT. Big East going to win the NCAA tournament. And then, because the Big East is the best, but that's besides the point.
You're as bad as Jay saying, "Oh man, I thought Purdue they're frauds, but they beat Utah State and Grambling." So
Listen.
that really changed my mind, guys.
Listen,
Hey.
the Yankees have how many losses? And that's how great the show was tonight. The Yankees have not lost. We spoke wrestling. The zombie
Exactly. That's how great
apocalypse.
it was.
It was
The
a great
zombie
show.
apocalypse. Raphael, have you heard about the zombie apocalypse, Raphael?
I've had odds up on that. I think for the past ever since Walking Dead came out, will we have a zombie?
Florida's kind of and Haiti are kind of
it's
zombie
bad.
apocalypse right now.
So next week, I probably won't be here because I'm coming back from Dave's tournament. But I leave you in good hands with the 3 gentlemen on my right, and Dave should be back.
So it's going to take you
Yeah.
a day and a half to recover from watching people golf.
I'm going to be flying back.
Oh, you poor thing.
The plane. The plane.
Flying
The plane
16
boss.
hours.
WrestleMania
You're coming back.
recap, you 3.
Yep.
So I will be watching the show if I'm on the plane, and if I hear any wrestling talk, that's it. I'm breaking it. But until next week, I'm JB Ellis. That's John Shear. Lord help us. Rafael Esparza. No more wrestling. And of course, the one and only Denzel, who has a wrestling show. Go figure. But tomorrow night, Confidential. No Hawk Talk tonight for everybody watching. Sorry, Dave needed a night off to get ready for next week. But we will see you next week, Tuesday, 8:30. And Dave will be back too next week. We're out of here.
Hey, be good humans.